Hey, welcome back to quiltingcowboy.com. I am so glad that you tuned in for this because this I know affects all of us. And I get asked this question quite a bit, which is what do you do when you are not inspired? Right? When you're in that slump and you're having a hard time and it just seems like a lot of work. Right? Like we've all been there, like really? Like I have to do 150 more half square triangles. That's my life right now. I get it. Like we've all been there, and there are times where it's not fun, right? Or you're between projects and you don't know exactly where to kick it off, right? And so I kind of did like a little thinking about this and put together kind of my 12 top steps to getting myself out of a slump because again, like I said, we've all been there. We've all experienced it. So the one thing that I want you to remember most, like in life, at least that I try and remember, is that when I'm having a day where it all just feels a little overwhelming and a little much, and the first thing I tell myself is, you're not tired, you're uninspired. Because when I'm inspired and I'm living in inspiration, it's like I have endless amounts of energy. I mean, I could paint the house. I could, like do this whole thing, like a bam, 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 no problem, But that's just for me what I have to remind myself that I'm not tired, I'm uninspired. So how do we get inspired? Right? So these are a couple of points that you might want to try. And my favorite, I'm going to say for last, because it always works and it's so simple. But anyways, we'll just start from the beginning. So first thing, find new surroundings. Change it up a little bit, right? Like go somewhere else, a library especially. Oh my gosh, a library for some reason, whatever, always does it for me. And whether it's new topics, new photography, new information, that's why you can't really see it in the picture here, but you see often when I pan up, right? I'm surrounded by books, especially old books, right? Because they are so cool to me, and I love the way that they're printed, the way that they feel. They always inspire me, and they're all from like the early turn of the century. Not this last one, the one before. Just to clarify. Yeah. But let me just grab one here. There's a couple here that I just absolutely love. In fact, crash, boom. All right, here we are. Bear with me, things are flying. But seriously, like, look at this book. Like, how awesome is that? And, I mean, and there's often pictures inside. Look at, I mean, I just think it's so wonderful. And what it does is it sparks that part in my heart. Oh, this is so good. My first quilting teacher, Jeanette, in Salt Lake City at Piper's Quilt Shop in Sugar House. She said, when I was trying to pick out fabrics for one of my first quilts, she said, "Does it make your heart sing?" I was like, what? I didn't know my heart could sing. And she was like, yeah, like, to find out what that means for you. And so when I go to and I see, books like this, like that makes my heart sing. That brings out that joy in me. And oh gosh, like even just the color of these books. Like, and that's why, although my first fabric line, pottery, is coming out soon, I'm already working on my second one, which is going to be called Novel. And it's based off of typography and a lot of the imagery that we find in these old books. Because again, like even just the colors of them, I find so lovely. All right, so that's one thing just in terms of broadening your horizons, getting into a new place, go to the library. All right, so that's point number one. Point number two, ask around. You don't know what you don't know. So I would ask your best quilting friends, just pick 3 and ask them, what do you think I could learn that I don't know now? Again, you don't know what you don't know, so ask around. And they may have some great ideas for projects that you never thought were appropriate for you or you never really thought about. So that's a good one too. So that's number 2. Number 3, hit the gym or shower. Again, this kind of plays back to point number 1, but for me anyways, I know I'm ridiculous, but going to the gym, getting those endorphins going. So what you're doing basically is changing your brain chemistry in one of two ways, right? So by going to the gym, you release those endorphins and it gets you going and you have more energy. I'm so much more awake on a day that I work out as opposed to the day that I don't go to the gym, where I feel kind of sluggish and I don't quite, get that full like brain firing on all cylinders. So hit the gym or hit the shower. The shower kind of changes the, what do they call it, ions or something in the air, and that's where you often get a lot of your best ideas from. So again, you're kind of changing things up a little bit and being more mindful, right, while you're doing that. There's a purpose behind why you're actually doing it. All right, the next point is quiet time. I know life is super chaotic, especially these days. Oh my gosh, whoo, the world right now. Whew. So just try and, find time for you, right, in a bubble, and try and keep that world pretty small, right, and just take care of you for a few minutes. Have a cup of tea, right, like find something online that you want to buy or whatever, and then give it to yourself as a reward when you get through the next thing, right? Yeah, these are things that I do with myself anyways, but I find that can be super helpful. Again, just have a little quiet time, just, browse the internet, do whatever you want to do in order to try and find more inspiration. Okay, question assumptions, especially about things that you believe about yourself. Question your assumptions about what you can do, right, and what you can't. So that is really important. The internally held beliefs that we hold are often never questioned by us. And are they serving us? Okay, so I would encourage you to just sit down and write them down. Like, what do I believe about myself? What can I do? What do I think I can't do? There's a roadmap. Look at the items that you have on the what can I not do, right? And so that leads me to my next point is fail on purpose. You know what I mean? Like, find something that you think you can't do and go out and do it knowing that you're going to be terrible at it, but how much will you learn? Because you've never done this before, right? So it's a lot easier to try on a project knowing going into it that you're going to be terrible and be okay with that, because you're doing it for the experience of learning something new. You're not in it to, just pick it up and be amazing. I don't have my I Am Awesome shirt on today, so you can't wear that. but you know what I mean? Like, try something new, especially something that you think you're gonna be terrible at, right? Just do it. Just do it. It doesn't matter what the end result is. That's not always the purpose of the exercise. When I used to teach dance way back in the day, I used to have a lot of students who were not very good. And I just always felt like, they just didn't have the body, the physique, the technique, the talent, the training in order to kind of pull off a lot of the stuff that I was teaching. But I never felt like getting it right technically was the purpose of why we were doing class. The reason we were doing class was to be together, right? And to experience something, right? And whatever came out of that is going to come out of it. And that should be good enough sometimes. Other times, of course, there are reasons and there are goals and there's right things to do ways and incorrect ways to do things. But sometimes you just got to let all that go and just like do it for fun, right? Knowing that it's going to probably be terrible, but hey, I'm going to learn something. So no problem. So next point, music, right? Pump up the jams and clean your freaking studio, right? That cleans the slate. It's like sage. Let's clear the air. Like, get the bad juju out of here because you're in a slump, right? And that's on you. And is your studio a mess? Because if the studio is a mess, I promise you that it is just a reflection of your mind. All right, so clear the space, clear the mind, okay? So then you can move on onto a new project from a clean slate, like I said. Okay, so that's that. Then, look for new things, new ideas, especially on Pinterest, other quilt blogs, things like that. That's a great place to get new inspiration. All right, then study or take a class. Right, that's always fun. I mean, like that one circle quilt that I did. I was like, I didn't think I could do that. And I went and took the class, and now I'm, you know, designing quilts that have circles in them, right? So that's a good way to kind of take that next leap, get to the next rung on your personal ladder, and then snowball your problems. What does that mean? All right, so if you've ever studied finance, you understand what a debt snowball is, right? And so essentially what you do is you tackle the smallest hurdle first, right? And so you take the smallest problem, you got that one, and then you roll into the next biggest problem, and then you tackle the next biggest problem, and then the next big one. So write them down. What are your stumbling blocks? What's holding you back? And then from there, you can kind of start to check them off from the smallest problem to the biggest. Now, the secret to that is to start in the morning, right? So the worst part of, you know, your list, you're gonna wanna do first. Why? Because number one, in the morning we have more energy, more ability to take on big projects. Whereas as the day wears on, we become a little bit tired, and those problems seem bigger than they are in the morning, right? Secondly, once you accomplish something kind of big in the morning, wow, like that gives you a boost for the whole rest of the day. Like, I really accomplished something today. So that's the main reason why you want to understand, write down what your problems are, and then kind of snowball them, tackling the smallest one up to the biggest one, okay? Because you'll have momentum, you'll be encouraged. It's like working out, right? You know, just start small, do little things, and then incorporate more, you know, as you can, as you're able. And then finally, this is the one that always works for me. Always works for me. And it's so simple. What I do in order to get out of my slump is I iron my scraps. And I mean, I have an entire room back there just of scraps, right? And what happens is I pull out my scraps and I start ironing them. I'm like, oh, I remember that I bought this because I could. Oh, and then, you know, it's like, I could do this. And then, oh my God, I've forgotten about this. Like, we have a stash that's going to outlive us. Tear into it. You bought all that stuff for a reason, because you love it, because it inspires you, and you just leave it back there forever? I don't think so. Go shopping there first. There's a reason why you bought all that stuff, so go through it. Iron your scraps. I'm telling you, by the time you get through about your 4th or 5th fabric, you'll have a new project already in mind. You'll be like off and running. So I promise you that if you follow just even a few of those, that'll get you out of your slump. And I hope that that was helpful, because I want you guys to be awesome. All right? So thank you so much for tuning into quiltingcowboy.com. You can always email me at quiltingcowboy@gmail.com. Talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.